It's very early in the morning, so my hair looks like this, but I feel like we should talk about Figma releasing their AI feature and then rolling it back within 14 hours, and why, from a responsible AI perspective, this was a great idea. My name is Paige Lord. I'm an AI ethicist. Usually I look more put together than this. Figma is a company that has a platform where designers of products and developers of products can partner together to make sure that the products you use are, one, functional, that they work, and number two, that they're designed well so that it's easy for humans to use, and also pretty, because that matters. Figma has a conference called Config, and they recently reached out their new AI feature. Everybody's got an AI feature, and Figma is no different. And their AI feature is not too dissimilar to some of the other generative AI features you're seeing out there, right? You have an idea in your head of what you want to design, you type in a prompt, and then it gives you some idea of like what you could do, right? It starts by giving you some design ideas, which is in theory meant to move you toward a solution faster. So Figma releases this feature, and then somebody goes on and starts to use it. They test it out. And when he tries to design a weather app 3 times, he sees that the Figma AI feature is basically reproducing for him the Apple weather app. So then this guy takes to Twitter, you can read it here, and he says, hey, basically, I think that Figma's AI is ripping off the designs of Apple. And this tweet has been seen, I think, over 1.4 million times. The CEO of the company gets on Twitter and tweets out a 4-part tweet in which he says a couple of things. One of them is that this is an off-the-shelf LLM and that Figma had limited contribution to the way that this was trained. The other thing that he says is that this issue was identified and resolved within hours of this publication. But then the third thing he says, which I think is the most interesting, is that he says that he, as the CEO, pushed his team really hard to get this feature released by their Config conference, and he didn't push as hard as he should have for a full and complete quality assurance review. So as an AI ethicist, there's a couple of things for me that I think about. The first one is, I have to ask the question, does Figma actually have responsible AI end-to-end? Do they have processes? Because I know, working for GitHub and working for Microsoft, I have seen the rigors of a really strict responsible AI program, and based on the level of risk that that AI feature poses, it's a really rigorous process. You have to meet a set of exit criteria in order to take that product to market. So that's my first question. Figma, what are you doing? Do you have a responsible AI process, and is it rigorous enough that this type of thing wouldn't have been able to go to market unless you had finished the QA checks? Second thing I want to say is I really commend the CEO, Dylan Field, for rolling the feature back. I think that a lot of companies would say, hey, we fixed the issue, don't worry about it, it's out there, go give it a try. Now, part of the reason why I think he chose to do that is because there were several different users that were getting on Twitter saying, hey, be really clear in your prompts here, because if your product design ends up ripping off another company, you don't want to be legally responsible. And for Figma, that's a giant nightmare. For Figma to have people saying A, that their LLM is ripping off the designs of Apple, and then B, saying, hey, designers, make sure that you protect yourself legally from companies suing you for using Figma, essentially, that's like a disaster. Those two things could bring Figma down. And so I think that it was really smart for Dylan Field to pull that feature back. And I think that in a world where everybody wants to get their feature out fast and maybe not get it out well, this is actually like a success story in terms of responsible AI and rolling out AI features. So that's my take on Figma.